The lack of sun often causes the feeling of melancholy and depression. The residents of Nordic European countries hold the highest positions in the so-called rating of happy countries, though the areas they live in have gloomy and snowy weather for months. The Kyiv festival Nordic Nights opens the secrets of northern happiness for Ukrainians.
The idea is, at least over a period of time, to give a broad presentation of the Nordic countries to the Ukrainian public and to learn more from our side also about Ukraine, the Ukrainian people, your history, your traditions and your values also.
Norway took the leading position in UN rating of human development in 2018. The country spends 3 to 4 times more budget for healthcare and education than for defense area. The gender and political equality of citizens are almost ideal.
So it's very difficult to measure what happiness is. But if you go to the UN statistics and the UN surveys, I think Norway very often comes among the 5 or 10 top countries when it comes to happiness. I would guess that one of the reasons is that it is a rather egalitarian society. The fact that we are an equal and egalitarian society, I think, is definitely one of the reasons why we are happy. There is a very short distance between the people and the politicians, between the governors and the governed. We have easy access to democratic institutions. We feel that our voices are heard, both in public channels like TV, with mass media, social channels, and we have a very direct and straight dialogue with our politicians, both in party organizations but also straight with representatives of the people who are in the parliament or even on the government level. We have a very well developed social security system. People are being taken care of basically from birth to death. Normally we don't have to worry about health issues, education issues, access to resources, access to information and so on and so forth. And I think very many of these aspects and elements put together will make at least a part of the recipe why we can say that we are a happy people.
The Danes share similar principles of equality. Their worldview is enclosed in the law of Jante. Axel Sandemose elaborated this concept to describe the notion of perfect social equality in which material wealth and status are not a particularly special trait.
It's trust in society, it's trust in people, which is the most valuable for their happiness. It's also appreciation of what you have, being grateful, what you can achieve in life, and it's an equal access to opportunities, education, healthcare, work life. Hygge is also very much based on exactly these values. It's about sharing relations and appreciation with your family. It's about being together in the dark winter nights and cozy up with your family and friends and spread light some candles around. Or in the summertime when you sit outside for hours in the evening and you have white nights and it's beautiful and you share it, just that exact moment with your family and friends.
Confidence, equality, and a benevolent government are the 3 major values of Swiss people.
Well, I think they're very important for us, well, as an outreach of Nordic culture, but I think what is really interesting is that this event is organized by Ukrainian volunteers who feel that maybe Nordic cultures are of value and that there is value in the interchange between Ukraine and the Nordic countries.
The folk traditions of Nordic Europeans are associated with the sun. It is not surprising because the nights are long and dark there. In the high winter in the southern part of North Circle, the sun hides in mountains from mid-November to the end of January.
If you are north of the Arctic Circle, I would say that the return of the sun after around the 20th or 21st of January is definitely kind of a pageantry, because the return of the sun, the return of the light is a big event, because then we have, or those who are living north of the Arctic Circle has been living in a kind of darkness. The sun never comes up above the horizon, and when it comes up, that's a good reason for good celebrations, that the sun is back, the light is back, and now we're heading towards summer. All sorts of party goings, I think, very much in the private sphere, in private houses, in private homes, festivities and party going, I would say.
People in Denmark start festive bonfires in the middle of the summer, when celebrating midsummer, the shortest night of the year. The traditions of Danes are similar to Ukrainian celebration of Ivana Kupala, when it is a custom to start a bonfire and jump over it.
First thing that comes to my mind is when we have the summertime, when we have the lightest night in Denmark, we gather together on the beach and we have a fire burn, where we traditionally, in old pagan times, we were lighting up the witch. Of course, we do not light up the witch today, but we still use this occasion to gather Ivana Kupala. It shows that there are certain traditions which are based on exactly pagan times that is shared between our nations and through time.
Besides the festive beer tasting, a virtual tour on bike and Scandinavian artist concerts, Ukrainian visitors got the chance to participate in discussions with embassy representatives.
My sense is that the equality between men and women is on the rise. Last year we discussed, in my case, women's rights and gender equality. This time we're going to focus at least partly on the Nordic values, what Nordic values are. My impression is that we share at least the value and respect and the necessity of promoting democracy, equality and democratic values, I would say, are values that we definitely do share with the Ukrainians.
I think my impression of Ukrainian society that it's extremely warm people. It's caring for each other, for their families. It's Ukrainians are very engaged also in the social life, civil life, whether it's cultural life. I think you're already trusting each other when you engage in, for example, civil society organizations, the way that you organize your family life. There is a good grain and a good basis that can bloom and expand even more.
Green energy became the special subject of cooperation of Ukraine and Nordic countries in recent years. The cautious treatment and care for nature is the essential principle on which the understanding between people is based, according to First Secretary of the Embassy of Sweden in Ukraine, Daniel Gronvies.
In Ukraine and Sweden, people value nature very much, and this connection to nature is very important, and it has been historically like this. There are many examples in both cultures of stories and myths associated with forests and forest spirits. People really appreciate being in nature, and there's a similar tradition of having a very simple country home. Most families will have a very simple country house, both in Ukraine, the dacha or the so-called stuga in Sweden, where they will go during summer and often spend their weekends or their holidays there, just enjoying nature, enjoying flowers and rivers and trees, and keeping it quite simple, really.
I'm teaching at Taras Shevchenko University. We have 50 students studying Swedish language, and it's getting more and more each year. For me, it has been very impressive to see that all Nordic countries come together and represent themselves and show what is the Nordic countries. Well, I think like this, that Ukrainians, Swedish or Nordic people can learn a lot from the Ukrainians. Well, I think we could be more open and learn from the Ukrainians. While Sweden, for example, I'm Swedish by myself, we can teach you about environmental issues and so on.
An active position helps Nordic people in dealing with the winter melancholy. The embassy representatives shared their secrets of personal happiness with Ukrainians.
In Norway some years ago there was a broadening of the definition of culture, which included sports and sports activities. And if you say that football is a part of the culture, I would say that football is a tradition that we definitely share with Ukrainians. I always get SMS and phone calls from people I know here in Ukraine, making me aware of football matches taking place. To stay fit, that's very important. To eat normally, to lead a physically active life, to be mentally active as well. Don't sit down in your sofas before a screen or an iPad or iPhones, but be active and be in active contact with family, with friends, social institutions, organizations, political life, and be active. That would be my basic advice, both to myself and my family and to the people around me in general.
I think for a start that Nordic countries and Swedes do get depressed. If I speak for myself, I always find the coming of winter to be very, very sad. There's a few things I think that Swedes do. One is this idea that you should have a cozy house. You should have a cozy house with warm light that you're happy to be in, because you will be spending a lot of time in your house in winter. I think the other element is sports, is winter sports, is to not let the winter close you inside your house only, but that you actually go out and you face the winter and you try to benefit from it as well. And then third is, I think for most countries, it's friends and family, that you have a good social circle who are suffering with you during the winter and that they are happy as well. The Ukrainians and the Kyivites, they're an incredibly resilient people. I think that people still believe in change, and they have shown this many times when they were unhappy with their politicians, that no, we want a different life, we feel closer perhaps to European values. I think there is a spirit in Ukraine that perhaps you don't see every day, but then you will see some Ukrainian person doing something extraordinary, or really sort of showing the warmth of their heart.